So, welcome to the VoiceThread Training. My name is Manuel Fernandez, and we're going to be talking about what VoiceThread is, how it works, how your students will use it, how it can be used, and the various functionalities that you have available you have at your disposal with VoiceThread. So, VoiceThread, before we get into the actual deployment process, is a tool that allows for multimedia content, and the main feature is that the students can add comments to that content. So if previously, if you handed somebody or uploaded a PowerPoint presentation to your class, you might have questions the next day when you go meet in person or you do a Zoom meeting. Similarly, the students might email you if your class were fully online and there was no synchronous session. So now with VoiceThread, if you upload a presentation, a video, images, etc., the students can, or audio as well, the students can leave comments throughout the content. They can ask questions, they can draw, they can do voice recordings, video recordings, etc. Um, it increases social presence from both you as the instructor and the students as well, because they get to see each other and hear each other's voices. And it is a good alternative for just text heavy content. So instead of giving them lots and lots of stuff to read, maybe they can watch a video that synthesizes the material, and then they can reply back. You can also create activities where they're more interactive, like they're presenting or they're responding to your questions, right? So in order to launch VoiceThread, you would go to anywhere in content area, or you see all these four buttons, and you would click on Tools and select VoiceThread. Okay. I always start with how to deploy assignments because that's what most faculty are interested in. So we're going to go ahead and call this assignment 1. Yeah, let's do create a VoiceThread. And in order to see the assignment builder, the functionality that lets you have graded components, you need to turn on the outcomes, the grade center column in advance. You can choose to include this in the grade center calculations ahead of time. You can always modify this portion, but it's very important that you turn on outcomes before you hit submit. All right. And you can always choose to make this available to students right away and select the due date. So this would actively mark it late if a student submitted past the time, right? Now, I like to tell my faculty that attend my trainings that instead of clicking submit, it's better to click on submit and launch. That is because if I click on submit, it'll take me back to Blackboard, and then I have to click on the title of the VoiceThread in order to proceed. Submit and launch skips that step and takes me directly to the VoiceThread redirection, and then I'll load all the components, and then I'll be able to make a decision of what exact component I want to use. So as you can see, it's loading. Right. So there we go. Once we enter this section, you'll have 4 options: course view, VT homepage, individual voice thread, and assignment builder. And we'll give each one of them their due. So, but first we're going to do assignment builder, right? We enabled outcomes, we enabled grade center, then we're going to click on this, and it gives me 3 options I can choose. And this is the new look. This is what it used to look a little bit different. I think this is a bit of a step up. So this is the new look. It create, comment, and watch are kind of self-explanatory, but I'll go over what you are expecting the students to do. Create, which is what we're going to click on. It's simply a repository for your students to submit their own VoiceThread. This is a little bit more complex because the students, you don't want to have a create VoiceThread at the very beginning of the semester, or at least not without good documentation or a thorough explanation of how it works, because the students might not be familiar with this tool. So but this is the area where the students would upload their own presentation. They could record themselves using a webcam or audio. They could take pictures or create a PowerPoint presentation like they would have done previously, and upload it into the VoiceThread, and then either narrated, or assuming you already had audio, it would play for you when you review them, right? And then you can give them a grade, or not have it graded if you're not into the grading process. So I would click on create, and that really is it. I will go ahead and click on continue. It'll ask me to choose um, if I want to leave a comment requirement. So it might not be enough to just upload their voice or audio presentation. They might need to leave a comment, right? I'm going to select, I could select 0, but I'm just going to leave it at 1. This is also, this used to be in a different menu, but it will allow you to choose what kind of comments you allow your students to submit. So microphone, webcam, telephone. Upload is file uploads, I believe. And then text is just like they write on their keyboard and then post it. So then we're not going to go into these options right now. We're just going to go ahead and click on continue, and this would allow the students to well, actually, this new feature I would recommend that you allow, especially if you have assignments where the students are supposed to review other people's submissions. This would be a good option to check, but I'll go ahead and go over the other options later. We're going to click on submit. So now we have assignment instructions. So complete 10 slides with a narration explaining the content within each. You have a message that you can show your students, message shown to student after they submit. So this submitted successfully, it would give them this information. You can set a start date. So if I wanted to, I could do like July 21. A due date, we didn't do a due date, so I'm just going to leave it as is. It might not hurt to allow the students to resubmit assignments, given that they might have submitted incomplete PowerPoint. But if you are adamant that they don't allow for resubmit, you can go ahead and turn this off and allow the students to view assignment after submission. That's pretty useful. It's just for them to review what they've completed. So I'm going to click on publish, and it will take me back to Blackboard. Now, from the student's perspective, if I click on create a voice thread, where's my sandbox? Hold on a second. So if I turn this on, I go to sandbox. So from the student's perspective, I have enabled student preview mode. If I go into this activity, it will look like this. It will take me to a place where I can just go ahead and upload either a set of files or pick from an existing voice thread, which is not common for students to have, but I have plenty of existing voice threads because I've done this training quite a lot. So here we have the logo gallery. Oh, it's not open. I went ahead and added an additional requirement, so that's not going to be open right now. Let's exit preview for a second. Let's go back to this. Okay. All right. So any questions on the create a voice thread activity while I modified the start date? I don't know why I closed it on myself. So any questions so far?
Not yet.
Alrighty then. So let's edit the assignment. It's actually nice that they have the edit assignment feature. It's on the top right corner, because it used to be that your existing voice thread, when you say, for example, your complete instruction, the previous version, you couldn't change this. So if your instructions were empty, or you gave like old instructions and out of date, and this was copied from another course, this
Mhm.
would not carry, this would not be modifiable, and you had to recreate the whole. So if you had a typo or you needed to add additional clarifications, you would have to recreate the voice thread. So this is nice that you're able to edit the functionality again. I'm gonna,
Mhm.
I'm gonna take off the start date because That is not necessary. I'm going to click back on Sandbox. So let's see, student preview mode. Alrighty. Okay. So as a student, as I'm in preview mode, as a student, I have the information here that the instructions that the instructor gave me. The steps are upload media and record at least one comment. I'm going to click on start assignment. It will give me multiple options. So add from a computer, record video slide, external source, etc. I'm going to just take a quick picture. It's going to ask me to access my webcam and whatnot. Take a picture. Okay. And then continue. So it didn't recognize my webcam, but it still managed to quote unquote take the picture. If I was happy with this, I would go ahead and click on, I have to add a comment. So now I'm going to go ahead and say, hi, this is my slide introducing who I am to the class. I could go ahead and click on save. And now I've met both criterias. I can click on submit and it will go to the student gallery. So I can click on the student gallery option and then I can see all the other presentations that have been made. If I go back here, I hit refresh, it'll show that it's been submitted on my behalf. So that's the Creative Voice Thread. They can, this is very commonly used in the business department. Law schools use it for like presentations, like pros and debates. Science professors here at the University of Houston downtown use it to have the students present their projects, their research, etc. So it has a lot of options, right? Let's go
Mhm.
back to, sorry, go ahead. Hello?
I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
all righty. So let's go back to Sandbox. The next option we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and create outcomes again. And we're gonna do common activity. So this is gonna be VoiceThread 2, common activity. Again, these last two are optional, so we're just not gonna bother with those. I'm gonna click on submit and launch. So this is the watch a voice thread and the comment voice thread actually require instructor material. So this is where you would come in and have to plan out or have existing content that you can make available to your students. So if I click on assignment builder, I will have, we already did create a voice thread. I would click on comment. And in this case, is going to ask me what voice thread do I want to use, or do I want to create a brand new one, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So click on continue. So I have a lot of voice threads as I'm an admin in the system and I have access to a lot. So I could click on like a lecture one, or I could look at something that I've already used before. And I can preview it if I don't remember what it was. If this, like, if you're copying from course to course and maybe you don't recall if this is the correct activity for module 5, you might want to click on view and look at that. You can choose when you're using older voice threads or already existing voice threads, you can select to only copy your comments. So when you make the voice thread accessible to another course, you might not want to have other students' comments carried over. So you can choose only copy my comments or don't copy any comments at all. You want a pristine submission. So I could choose either one of these. I'm going to click on no comments. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to click on continue. Okay. So it's going to show me what's in this voice thread. It's going to show me, okay, I have an image, I have some lecture videos, I have a recording webcam of myself, I have a presentation. I'm okay with this. This is great. I'm going to click on continue. I'm going to click on continue, and now it's going to ask me once again, how many comments are required for the student to mark as successfully completed? In this case, I think there were like 6 slides. I'm going to ask for 4 comments minimum. Um, then I can also choose if, for example, my class was on speech, like if I was a communications class, or the students are giving oral reports or oral exams, then I could actively turn off anything that's not speech related. I know a professor in the natural science department that has taken from using, instead of having like written essays or like much longer multiple choice exams, she has a voice thread um, where the students answer questions. They pick 3 or 4 out of the X amount of slides that the instructor might have available, and they have to answer orally. So they don't have to write it down. They simply answer using the microphone, their webcam, or their telephone. If you're doing something more high stakes like that, like an oral presentation, you can always choose to enable comment moderation. This would prevent the rest of the class from seeing that comment. So you as instructor will see every single comment, but all the other students would not see it until you choose to make them available. So this is a great way to have like high stakes activities that don't that have other students don't give it away for the rest of the class. Additionally, recording or sifting through a lot of audio comments or verbal webcam comments might be a lot of extra work. So you can choose to limit the length of each comment to something like 2 minutes, right? So if you are determined to spend less than 30 minutes on the assignment and you have 15 students, you might want to go ahead and do 2 minutes per comment, and you could enable that. Now, of course, we have a 4-minute requirement, so we might want to reduce this to 1, and then we could do 2.5, right? That would be a little bit better. But so it's up to you how many comments minimum you want to have. But if the more comments you have, the less time you might want to allow, right? Um, okay, so next, this playback options are not really very important. You can choose to allow the students to download the presentation, allow for export, or for students to make a copy. This were not used very often. I would personally not mess with these features. So I would next go to continue, and it'll take me to the next step, where again, I'm given an area where I can add the assignment instructions, so I can remind them, uh, be sure to comment at least once for a duration of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you have an example URL or anything along those lines, you can put that here. You can say congratulations for submitting. As we did earlier, this would lock or gate the assignment activity, so I'm not going to use that. And this would make it late if the student submitted past the due date. I'm going to leave it as is and then click on publish. So that's the commenting functionality. If I went back to student preview mode and I clicked on the comment, it would look like this. I have a lot of emails today. Okay, so again, here's my information. I could click on start assignment. As an instructor, as a student, I will choose any of these options. We'll go over the comments near the end. So then I would just count down to 3. I start recording and say, hey, this is my attempt. If I use the webcam or the audio recording, not the telephone, but the audio and webcam options, I can choose a pencil. So for example, I could point to parts of the structure, or I could circle important things or interesting things about the image. I could write. I'm left-handed, so my handwriting is truly horrible when I try to write on with my mouse, but I could technically write. So if anybody's teaching math, they could start writing the formula solution for an answer and move on to the next, right? I can go through the little video presentations. I can continue to navigate and skip. Um, and then once I'm happy with the recording, which it's not going to be sufficient because it has to be, well, um, I can't submit if I haven't hit the 2 minute and 30-second mark. So technically, this is still an attempt. So I'll go ahead and click on stop recording. It's going to take a little bit of time to upload. So let me lower my voice a little bit. As I talk, when you're recording with audio and webcam, as you talk and you write, it will start to appear, right? So if I scrubbed forward on a video or I move to a certain slide, it will also do that. And so in the next couple seconds, we'll start jumping slide to slide as I start navigating through the rest of the presentation. So So I'm happy with this comment. I'm going to go ahead and click on save. And this is going to be one of the comments located in this area. So if I was happy with this, I would go ahead and click on submit. And then I would move on to the next activity, right? So I'm going to click on exit preview once again. And go to sandbox. All right. So that's create a voice thread and commenting. We're going to go through these steps one more time. I'm not going to emphasize them as much as previously. I'm going to click on submit and launch. So the last graded activity is going to be your assignment builder, your watch a voice thread. So inside of the assignment builder, this one's this one passive has a bit of a negative connotation, but it is the most passive option that you can have for your assignments. You're basically asking the students to watch through or listen through an entire voice thread. They don't have to comment. It is not a requirement, but they have to go through all the existing comments in order to be counted as succeeded. Um, so say for example, let's see if this one has any comments located in there. So as an instructor, so for this lecture I did or parsed from YouTube, there are no comments. But if I, as the instructor, did a lecture presentation over this video, so I recorded my voice. I'm going to use this for the low latency. If I recorded my voice over this presentation, I highlighted points of interest, right? I scrubbed through the video, talked about other things, and then I hit stop recording. When I assign it as watch a voice thread presentation, the student is going to have to go through not just the video, but the comment from the instructor, regardless of how long it is. So if you have 15 comments, the student would have to go through all the 15 comments in order for them to have counted as complete. So that is something that you should be aware of when you do watch a voice thread. If you have a lot of comments in there, or uh, even more, your students start commenting even though they don't have to, the last person to have to try and complete this assignment will have to go through those comments. At least last time I checked, that could be a concern. So just be aware of that. So I selected this lecture. I'm gonna say I'm happy with it. I'm gonna click on continue. So I have my video, my comment, which is about 12 seconds. Yeah. And then I'm gonna click on continue. When a final comment on slide has played, advance to the next 4 seconds, but we only have one comment. Start playing when open, and as you can see, not a lot of options. So I think they might have removed the ability for the students to comment precisely because of that previous problem. So really, this is just to for you to modify how quickly it advances from slide to slide. Again, similar permissions allow the download, exportation, or the copy of this voice thread. Perfectly fine options to choose yes or no, but they're not really the most important aspect. I'm going to click on continue. I think I forgot to put this in the beginning. Watch a voice thread. I'm going to add the instructions. Watch the comments and finish the video before you're able to submit. I'm not going to mess with the successful submission message. I'm not going to click on start or due date. I'm just going to click on publish. And there we have it. I'm going to edit this name. This name is not. Yeah. See, so one of the things with VoiceThread is that the names might not be editable. So you want to be aware that the name that you're given that VoiceThread link is the one that you want it to be. Oh, now it popped up. Sorry. They changed it on me. I was on FMLA leave for 6 weeks. So watch VoiceThread. Okay, so that was just a glitch from Blackboard being slow. So I'm going to click on submit one more time. So there we go. So we have create a voice thread, comment, watch a voice thread. So the student would just simply, going back to student preview mode. So I click on start assignment. So I hit play. So it's going to play the comment first, and then I would watch all the central media. So that's why you might want to keep in mind the length of the assignment that you're giving them. Can you keep that in consideration? So if you're creating new content for your course or you're redesigning your course material, you might want to consider, if you're having a watch a voice thread activity where they have to watch an hour-long presentation, you might want to go easy on other activities, because then they're going to be stuck doing a lot of work. Or that's okay. I mean, you can give them a lot of work. Um, so that's it. Those are the 3 active graded components of VoiceThread. Now we can go into the managing and the linking non-graded activities, which are also a good way to share content with your class. So I'm going to click back on Sandbox. I'm going to click on Tools. Before I continue, any questions regarding the 3 activities?
No, but you had something interesting in your items that you were showing us when you were choosing. I would like to see, if we have a chance, the one you did on the welcome.
On the welcome?
Yeah, you had in your lineup of items that you chose from, one was a welcome.
Okay.
I'm just curious on how you went through that.
Okay. So I'm switching to just the Blackboard homepage area.
Mm-hmm.
So I normally get to this near the end of the class, but just to jump ahead a little bit.
No, we can wait. I was
Okay.
just saying I was curious. You can, even
Okay.
if you're not able to show it today, maybe I can sign up again
Okay.
to
Well,
look at how you did the welcome.
we'll look at the individual voice thread. So, the next option that I would talk about is the next options that I'm going to talk about are the 3 non-graded activities. This is the course view, which is the one we're going to link to. Then you have homepage and individual voice thread. So course view, what will allow is any and all voice threads that you make available to the specific course will be located in that course view catalog. So as you add lectures, your students submit to a gallery, they share with their course, or you even give this as an option for your students to go into. The students will start seeing all the voice threads that you've added, or they can start creating their own within this shell. So that way it's a little bit more organized and they don't have to go hunt through a bunch of voice threads that they might be working in other classes. So this is, in this case, I don't really need a student preview mode to view this because it's going to be the same functionality for student versus instructor. The only difference, it's probably that the students might not see this add your own option, although we can test it. But um, you said something about a welcome. Yeah, welcome to the course. Is that what you were
Yes,
referring to?
yes,
Okay, so this is just a very this is just a voice thread on itself that I named welcome to the course as an example of how the voice thread can be used. So we have a wide variety of ways that you can use voice thread to communicate. It can be as a lecture presentation, which we'll get to. Let me go ahead and do, for example, the individual voice thread. This one has no grade. I'm going to call this individual voice thread. So I always change the name. It used to be that the names were not changeable after it was done. So you always want to change the name from VoiceThread to the specific naming convention you're using to make it sense of what's supposed to be in here. So I'm going to call this individual voice thread and we'll click on submit and launch. Again, this is not a graded activity, so I don't have to go to outcomes. So individual voice thread is it's another place, just like in watch and comment, where the instructor has to bring something into the voice thread in order to function. So here I would have the option to go through my list of my catalog of voice threads that already exist, which is where I have the welcome to the course example.
mhm,
If if I didn't remember what this one is for, like I obviously says welcome to the course, it doesn't say which course. So if I wanted to make sure that this is the right class, I could click on preview. It'll take me to the VoiceThread link ID for that one. And I can click and see, hey, is this the correct one? So this was really old. This is like back in
back in the day.
back in the day when we were all working from home. Yes, fun stuff. That takes me back. That was only a couple months ago. Uh, so okay, so maybe this is not the one I want to use because I'm working from home on this one. So maybe I want to grab this one, for example, that has me out here by the skyline view of UHG downtown, or maybe I would look at something that makes me look, maybe in my office, I could choose a different one, right? So if I'm happy with the presentation, once I'm happy with the presentation that I want to use, I would simply click on share with class, and that's it. This is the easy one. This is a very easy one because all you're doing is just sharing with the class. Now, your students are not required to comment on the voice thread. They are not going to be reported. Like it's not going to track their view if they watched it or not. So that's why I always start with the graded functionality first, because there's a big balancing act between how much content are the students allowed to watch and how much content the students should watch as a benefit for them and for the rest of the classmates, because that way you benefit from an informed class all having the same a good discussion. So that's where you want to, that's up to you, but we're always here to help out and help make decisions. So I don't know when my edit mode is, it's not working, but okay. So the last option is VoiceThread Home. And as the name implies, this is kind of like the repository for all the voice threads for the specific user. So my VoiceThread home, if I once I deploy this and click on it, would look vastly different from that from Dr. Matthews or Dr. Johnson, right? Or your students. So if your students click on VoiceThread home without any explanation, they might think, oh, I'm in the wrong place. But in reality, they might just be looking at their home area, and they just don't have an existing voice thread, so they need to fill that in. That's where they'll have the ability to add their own voice thread, and then they can mess with it, add additional slides, record webcams, photos, etc. Right? So this will take me to how do we create voice threads and what functionalities we have available. So as you can see, I'm an admin in VoiceThread, so it just gives me a lot of, a lot of voice threads from a lot of people. So I'm just going to click on create, and then we'll get to how do you actually create, or what kind of functionalities you have. So I'm going to click on add media. It's going to give me the option for like my computer, media sources, audio, webcam, photo, webcam video, or URLs. You can also drag and drop. So if you have like, you won't see my file explorer folder, but if I had like a PowerPoint folder, I could just start dragging and dropping PowerPoints into here, and that would be sufficient. But let me look through and see if I have any PowerPoints that let's see. So is I have instructors content, and I'm not constantly making PowerPoint. So let me pull up from my drive. Save PowerPoint. Give me one moment. So I'm gonna click on my computer, downloads, digging deeper, and I'm bringing this in. So digging deeper, yeah, digital annotation. So I'm gonna click on that. I'm gonna give a description. So presentation on digital annotations. Your tag system is a great way to search through things, so if you're looking to organize your content a little better, this would be a great way to do it. Next, I'm going to click on um, playback options. So I want to enable commenting. I want to enable threaded commenting, and then what type of comments I'm going to allow. Say, for example, this is just a place for the students to ask me questions as well as listen to me talk. I want to hear their voice, so I'm just going to turn off everything except for these interactive components. I can allow the students to download the original media and allow them to export if they need to. And I'm going to limit the comments to 2 minutes. If you cannot say it in 2 minutes, maybe you need to practice a little more. So I'm going to click on 2 minutes, and that's about it. I'm going to click on save, and it will preview. It will show me what it looks like. So I downloaded this from Google Slides, and then I uploaded this into VoiceThread. So it's giving me a bit of an issue. So if I click on this one, for example, so if I clicked on the slides, I can see that some of this is off, and that's mostly the Google Slide to PowerPoint conversion. So you want to make sure that your PowerPoints are nice and neat before they're uploaded. Um, and submit. But once I have this voice thread, you keep me training. So once we have the voice thread uploaded, then I can go into comment and work my way through the rest of the presentation. So for example, I can give a brief introduction here, and then my second comment, I can start here and then navigate. I don't have to stop recording when I finish a slide. I can just go on through the entire slide. Now, what I do tell faculty when you're working with VoiceThread, there is no cut and edit, like splicing audio and that sort of thing. So it's great if you know everything that you're going to talk about and you can do it in one take. but life happens. And now I specifically used to say this when we were in a working from home situation. Your cat might jump on your lap. Your kid might jump on your lap. I know mine did a lot. So you might want to still stop recording, then move to the next slide. So that way you don't have to redo a 20-minute recording versus redoing a 2-minute slide presentation. So that's something to consider, right? Once I'm happy with the presentation, I've given the students guidance on what question this talks about, or waiting for their input, or I finish doing my entire presentation, I can click on X out of here, and then that should be it. I've linked to this activity, so if I go back to Sandbox, when I click on the individual when I watch, okay, sorry, I was creating a voice thread, so I can link I can link to it once I'm done here. So I can go to VoiceThread, do individual VoiceThread, and it'll complete the process. So say this could be like digital annotation. Give it a name. No outcomes required. And then so any questions so far? We're nearing the end of the presentation.
No, I have none.
Nope, in good shape.
Okay. So I was creating the presentation for in home, so now I can go back to Blackboard, link to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy with this, even though it's a little skewed. Click on share with class, and now it's available for them to look at. Now, ungraded. If I wanted to make it graded, I would have to do outcomes and make it one of these three options. Well, one of these two options: commenting or watch a voice thread. Um, so that's about it. So I know I will say VoiceThread does take a little bit of preparation and practice from your students. Now there is a VoiceThread application, and the students can call in, which is another alternative if their phone cannot handle the VoiceThread app. But the only thing to be aware of with the student commenting response is that the longer the comments they make, the higher the chance that it might fail to upload. That's why you might want to consider doing the restriction and increasing the size, the comment count. So you restrict the amount of time that the students are allowed to comment, make it 2 to 3 minutes, then you increase the amount of comments, and that's an easier way to manage the upload process than having the students comment over an entire presentation in the span of 10 minutes, right? So that's something to consider. Um, but yeah, it's used in a lot of classes. The drama department, a professor in the drama department that basically goes through and does voice thread for some theater plays. The natural science department basically does their I think it's geology professor, geology and weather, and he goes through all his lecture presentations all throughout in VoiceThread. And I have that professor in the biology department that has the students answer oral questions for their exams in a moderated VoiceThread in order to prevent students from giving away the answer to everybody else. So there's a lot of case uses. You can also look at their blog for additional ones, although they're normally aimed at K through 12. So if you have specific ideas that you want to apply or implement, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to work with you on a one-on-one basis. Okay, so that about wraps it up. So if there are no questions for the last 10 minutes, then I'll go ahead and stop recording. And once the video is processed, I'll go ahead and send the complete